Shelters that we were putting in place were nothing more than indoctrination centers. Indoctrination. Few police departments had special victims units. And there was no national hotline to call, none. There was a background. That was the background when I first wrote the Violence Against Women Act in 1990. My goal was to do more than change the law, to change the culture of America.
That was President Joe Biden yesterday speaking at the White House to commemorate the 30th anniversary of the Violence Against Women Act, the landmark legislation that he wrote and championed as a U.S. Senator. The president hailed it as his proudest legislative accomplishment during his more than 5 decades of serving in political office in Washington. And joining us now, Deputy Assistant to the President and Communications Director for the First Lady, Elizabeth Alexander. Elizabeth, it's so great to have you on the show.
Thanks, Mika. And thanks for having me.
I love this topic because it's very Joe Biden. He has a history of getting ahead of issues that people are only whispering about. And it makes me think of 2012, same-sex marriage, when he went on Meet the Press and he just said out loud what others were not prepared to say, and that is, who do you love? Who is it that you're going to be loyal to? That's what marriage is about, supporting same-sex marriage. Talk about the Violence Against Women Act and how much he was pushing the envelope back then on this issue.
That's right, Mika. I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. Joe Biden and his entire career has been ahead of issues. And I'll take you back to 1990. This was an issue, domestic violence. It was something, as you said, people were only whispering about it. No one was talking about it. There were few resources. And Joe Biden opened the door on this. He shined a harsh spotlight on it, on that abuse, on what was going on across the country. It was treated as a private family matter. It was being ignored by police, dismissed by judges. He changed that. In 1990, he held historic hearings. He brought survivors forth. He gave them a platform, a megaphone that they had never had before. And they told their stories of horrific violence that they were facing, often at the hands of those who were supposed to love them most. And so Joe Biden, as he does, he listened, but more importantly, he forced others to listen, and he acted. And so in 1990, he wrote the law, the Violence Against Women Act, his proudest legislative achievement, but it took years to get passed. There was opposition to it, but he rallied those survivors. He rallied advocates. And together, because of his doggedness and his legislative expertise, honestly, and the courage of those survivors, they got it passed in 1994 as part of the larger bipartisan crime bill. And millions of women have been saved because of it. And so when we talk about Joe Biden's legacy, when we think about Joe Biden's legacy, I think of those women that were saved by VAWA, which it is frequently called, and the generations of trauma since that it likely prevented.
Hi, Elizabeth. It's Molly Jong-Fast. I'm wondering, the right sort of has no-fault divorce in its crosshairs right now. No-fault divorce was another piece of this that prevented domestic violence. Can you talk about no-fault divorce and also what this administration can do to protect it?
Well, I'm not an expert on no-fault divorce, but I am an expert on Joe Biden's legacy on this law. And I think that, you know, a lot of abuse is happening in homes. Again, like I said, women, wives, girlfriends are often facing this violence at the hands of people who are supposed to love them most. And that was what was happening back in the 90s. It still happens today. But today, there is public outrage on it. There are lanes for justice. There's accountability today that wasn't there 30 years ago. And so as far as it relates to divorce, I mean, now it's not treated as a family matter. Violence comes out in court. It's talked about. Judges recognize it. And so I can imagine that it has an impact, this legislation specifically, for 30 years in the courtroom.
All right, Deputy Assistant to the President and Communications Director for the First Lady, Elizabeth Alexander. Thank you very much for coming on the show this morning.